because you have IQ, obviously, how
Right.
intelligent someone is based on this. But I think even more important than IQ, and if you've read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, it goes into this. Once you get to a certain point of IQ, there's no definition of success. You're not going to be more successful just because you have 30 more IQ points. I think it's past like 115
Ah,
IQ or something like that. It's based
wow.
on the time you put in to become an expert at something, as well as the way to work with people from an emotional standpoint. It's called EQ.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Trey Angle. My name is Trey Martinez. I'm super excited to be the host and be here in general to be able to give you insights, a lot of tips, and what I call the little angles to help you overcome, help you get that edge in whatever you're doing, and maybe do something that we're uncomfortable, maybe overcome those fears, or whether that's just something in your personal life or business, just becoming a better person and using these strategies in your life. So again, super blessed to be here. This is Trey from the Trey Angle.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Trey Martinez here, and I am stoked about this. We're back on the podcast train. That's number one, 2021. I think that Garrett's shirt is perfect for the way I'm feeling. It's time to give back to everybody with some
It's
amazing
dope, man.
conversations. That's right. So for those of you who don't know, this is Garrett Leake, and we've been buddies since college, and we reconnected recently, and it was so exciting. We didn't have enough time to talk because we're catching up on so many different things, and we started to realize our worlds kind of collide, or they cross over with marketing and sales. Of course, that's any business. So first off, thanks, Garrett, for jumping on.
Dude, of course, I'm excited to be here. As Trey said, that you were one of the first people I think I met down in the dorms at Texas State. You and Colt, man, like good friends right off the bat. So it was great to reconnect the other day. I actually saw you and Colt out on the social media out hiking the other day, and I was like, full circle, man, full circle.
Yep, exactly. It's funny. I was right before this. I was on the phone with him, so
Nice.
he'll be a little jealous. So we'll have to rub this in his face a bit.
We'll have to
He's
get him
like, I
on
gotta
with
get.
us next time.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, it's time for a podcast with us. So anyway, for those of you who don't know, Garrett's working with a sweet. It's not startup at all. I mean, these guys are crushing it. It's just you got the opportunity to be in it at a very kind of early age, I'd say. The company called AppDynamics. You guys were just purchased by Cisco recently, right?
About 3 years ago. So I joined just post acquisition. So I got to see a little bit of the startup side as it was transitioning into the monster house that is Cisco, which I'm sure they would love that we're having this on Zoom, being the owners of WebEx. But I'll let it slide this time, Trey.
That's true. I'll have to plan that for it next time. But yeah, for those who don't know, Garrett's based out in Dallas, and again, we met in San Marcos, and I want to talk about marketing and sales because whenever you and I were catching up, I started seeing how you and I think so much like in leveraging technology and having it do a lot of the heavy lifting. It's not that we're afraid of doing work. We just like working a little bit smarter. So I guess before we get to the nitty gritty of marketing and sales, I guess tell people where you were whenever we met and how you are where you are now.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're 100% right. The technology aspect, and we'll get into that here in a second, but it's about being able to scale. You got to do business at scale. And this is the ability to leverage that to automate processes that can make it easier on that front. But going back to when we met, just an eager-eyed, way too much energy college kid, knew I wanted to be in sales of some sort. I knew I wanted to be working with larger corporations, being able to help them solve problems. The type of problems, I had no idea. I just knew I wanted to be selling something. So Texas State, fortunately, we had a sales program there, but it also, to be in the sales program, you had to be in the marketing program. Sales and marketing, they're forever going to overlap. It's one of those things, and it depends on who you talk to on which one they think drives business more. It's sales, but besides that that point, I mean, it's great to be able to utilize both of them with persona-based marketing that is soft sells, being able to create conversations, get your product information out there. After I graduated from Texas State, started working at ADP, great organization for learning how to hit the ground running in sales. You're knocking on doors, you're picking up the phone, calling people, and you're starting conversations and trying to help them out. Did that for about 2 years, then got brought over to AppDynamics, and it's been an awesome learning process, learning the SaaS market, enterprise software, working with big companies to solve big problems. And it's been awesome, man. It's been an awesome ride, and I can't wait to see where it keeps going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, bug-eyed, eager, and a ton of energy. That's a fact. You had a ton of it. But what's so cool, I actually did not know that you went through the program, nor did I know that, Texas State had a really good sales program. So that's cool.
Oh, it's a fantastic program. I've had a few friends that have gone through it as well. They're all doing well now, and that's what you love to see, is teaching some of the art of sales, because you have your art and you have your science. The science is the processes behind to get business closed, get people involved in those gauges. The art, you can teach some of the art, but some people just have the art. It's being able to articulate, have those conversations, keep people engaged. And that was a point that one of my mentors brought up to me the other day, which is talking through some things. And in these roles and just life in general, we're always trying to get better, having that growth mentality, keep pushing forward, even like hardships come. But through those conversations, it was breaking down things that I personally need to get better at, and kind of looking at the difference between the art and the science, and figuring out where can we get better. So I thought that was a great point. And I think if you break that down, because there's an art and there's a science behind marketing too, and they all interlap. I mean, sales and marketing, like I said earlier, they intertwine forever, but it's not something that just happens from a sales organization, an entrepreneur going to sell something, someone trying to market something. You're in marketing and sales in every aspect of your life every day. You're selling yourself to people, you're selling your ideals, you're marketing yourself as well. Like, what do people perceive you as? That's your brand.
Yep. But that makes me think of a quote that I picked up, I think this past year. It was just worded so well, because as you and I think everybody knows, marketing and sales, that goes hand in hand. But marketing sets up the sale.
Agreed.
And it can set it up even better. You can go in with some hard sales, but if you got a great marketing on top of it, it makes it a lot easier, right?
It conveys what the client should expect when they get engaged in that conversation. It sets the mood, sets the tone.
Right. There you go.
Because if you reach out to someone, we have computers in our pockets now. They're going to look you up. They're going to look at these processes, and what they see is that that's their first impression. Unless you're able to catch them out of the blue on a cold call and they have no idea about your product or service, that's probably going to drive the first impression.
Yeah. And this actually, I've never heard anybody talk about the art and science of marketing, having it like that. When I think of the art and science, I can think of a lot of other things. I even think of boxing. There's the science of it, but then there's the art of it too. But something that I've even talked about since we jumped on the phone catching up was, now that I think about it, your art, the way that you told me how you broke down one of these prospects that you're working towards. You used art by hockey. You want to touch on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's going into prospecting, you try to figure out a way to personally connect with someone. I mean, no matter what your product or service you're selling, there's going to be competitors out there saying the exact same thing. Whether what you do is the same thing, this is where you get lost in marketing. And this is some of the downfalls of marketing, because you might have someone who to your clients appears as a competitor, but truthfully, when you break it down, they don't do what you do. They pitch the same message you do, but capabilities or actual functionality, it might not be there. So there's the change in that, but it's understanding things that are important to them. And I think even a better story than the hockey one was one that I was looking at a prospect, and unfortunately we didn't end up doing business together. It wasn't a right fit, but getting the conversation it's one of the hardest part about sales. And with that, noticed that the guy he enjoyed hiking. He worked with Boy Scout troops with his son. He was in the Boy Scouts when he was younger. So he really enjoyed those things. And that's something that I love myself. I love getting out in nature. I love going hiking, doing all these things. And, send him a few emails, called him a few times, never got anything back from him. Figured, hey, let's get creative with this. I went and bought a medical kit from REI. Took a picture from my last hike, wrote on the back of it, hey, this is a picture from my last hike, figuring that you like hiking as well. I think that this medical kit could come in handy for you. And with that, I sent it over to him, and he's like, yeah, I'd love to have a conversation.
Wow. That's That's awesome. I forgot about that story. Thinking of just creative ways to, again, start a conversation and build trust. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what we're doing here. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about dating, if we're talking about sales and marketing, it's the same thing. You want to build a comfortable environment for you to have the actual conversation to get to the decision that you want, right?
Humanize yourself.
There you go. There you go. It's relatability. I mean, I'm starting to realize, and I think we talked about it too, in marketing, and it can go further than that, but it's a lot better to know exactly who you're going for rather than just having a gunshot approach to everything. Because like you said, if you knew your end user, which is this guy's, maybe they got this position in a role, but like you knew even deeper, hey, this guy likes hockey or he likes outdoors. I know how to relate to that because that's who I am too.
Yep.
I can talk that language, right? And then using that to have the conversation, become that human, and use that aspect to do business, right?
Mm-hmm. And so, in our space, oh, sorry, go ahead, Trey.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, I was gonna say you talked earlier about the utilizing technology to be able to help along these paths that we're taking here, and that's one of the things. Like having these personal connections with people, that takes time. Time is our most valuable asset that we have. You can't spend all your time just doing stuff like this because that meeting, we got a meeting, it didn't turn into anything. It's still a positive because I can cross that organization off. They're not going to be a good fit for us, move on. But you also have to be able to scale that. So you need to understand who is our decision maker and the economic buyer in these processes, who's going to be able to actually fund the project or make the decision along it across the end of the day. So with scalability and utilizing technology, you can automate some of these outreaches, maybe to people who are dealing with the issue, but they might not be the person who can go and fix the issue. But those conversations are still just as important because you can understand what's important to them as a person, and you're not having to spend all the time doing the personal connection. The personal connection is, you have an issue and I can help you out. Let's figure out how I can make your life better, and use that information to help work with the decision makers in the process to help make their org a happier organization and more efficient at the end of the day, which, I mean, that's a huge buzzword. We can help you be more efficient. I mean, that's what everyone's selling nowadays, but sometimes it's true. And sometimes it's a pipe dream, and it might not be the right fit for us as the seller or them as the organization. And that's when you just have to operate based off goodwill. And like, my goal here is to help you.
Right. No, I like that. It makes me immediately think of, would I rather be approached by somebody to solve my problem right off the bat, or to build rapport to me, then potentially sell me something that doesn't even work for me? You know what I mean? Of course, there's, I think people like both because, again, there's the human aspect, but at the end of the day, can you solve my problem? Right?
Yeah. No one likes being sold to. Right. No one likes being sold. I know, like, I was in Nebraska Furniture Mart the other day looking at some stuff, and I was just like, I was annoyed when people came up to talk to me to sell me. I get it. It's your job. You work on commission. We're in sales too. I 100% understand, but I want to do my due diligence. I want to do my process. I want to come to my own decisions before I'm sold to. At that point, know your stuff, know how to close me, know all those things. So if you can help work with the prospect that you're working with and look at it from a psychological standpoint, like, you might know that every organization or every person in their position has a similar problem. But if you tell them that they have that problem, they're not going to be happy, because it's like, why are you telling me I have problems?
Ooh.
But when you sit there and have a conversation with them, then let them come to the realization on their own. From a psychological standpoint, as a human, you're like, yeah, that makes more sense. So it's truly trying to work with them, utilizing, which actually I'll get into that in a second, because that's another point. But to work with them to ultimately help them out from a humanistic standpoint, which I don't know if humanistic is a word, but regardless.
We get it. No, but that's true. I learned something, and that reminds me, I was in retail. So I worked at Nordstrom. Whenever I left Texas State, came back to Houston, I went to Nordstrom. I wanted to be around very successful people. And I knew, okay, if I'm in the Galleria here in Houston and I work at Nordstrom, and if I can get into that men's designer section, I'm going to be around some pretty influential people. And that was true. But I did notice that there was many times when someone comes in, and I'm like, I don't want to feel like I'm selling you. I just want to see first off, I'm greeting you. And then I want to just see if I can point you in the right direction. Besides that, you do your deal, because if you put yourself in the other person's shoe, just like you said, a lot of people are like, dude, I'm good. I'm fine. Leave me alone. You know what I mean? But it's trying to find out the other person's perspective on how can this person help me right now? Maybe it is just leave me alone.
You nailed it on the head. And that's what I was about to get into. And I said, let's hold off on this a second, because you have IQ, obviously, how intelligent someone is based on this. But I think even more important than IQ, and if you've read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, it goes into this. Once you get to a certain point of IQ, there's no definition of success. Like you're not going to be more successful just because you have 30 more IQ points. I think it's past like 115 IQ or something like that. It's based on the time you put in to become an expert at something, as well as the way to work with people from an emotional standpoint. It's called EQ. How can I understand what this person, how they want to interact? If they want me telling them a lot of information to be able, because they're very analytical, that's what you have to do. You have to be able to adapt to how that person wants. And I think that is almost more important than IQ, because if you're able to find things, you have intelligence. People are intelligent in different ways, but being able to read people and how they want, that's super important. Like in that Nordstrom example, sometimes someone just wants to be left alone. And if you leave them alone until they kind of give you that look or something, they're going to be more willing to buy from you. If someone's sitting there asking over and over again, they might be pissed and they might want it, but they might leave and come back and someone else gets it because they didn't like how you interacted with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
that also drives, which one more point before you get into this, because I think this goes with it as well. With the interactions as well, it's that thin line between, you don't want to become, because you're in sales, you're selling, you're commission based, you're trying to get this done. You don't want to be a customer service rep there,
right?
Because you can read on that, but it's that thin line. Okay, when do I push for the close? When do I do this? And when do I set that expectation? Because expectations are extremely important. In Nordstrom, they understand you're a sales person, so that expectation's already set. But if you're out trying to sell something on your own, they might not realize that this is your actual role and what you're for. So setting those expectations up front is very important.
That's good, dude. And it's funny because I actually just posted on that this past week, because I had a great conversation with one of my best friends, Brandon, and he said this, and it's stuck with me, and I feel like it's going to stick with me for a while because it's true. Our world and reality is based off of expectations. A lot of the times when we're disappointed, it's because we put the wrong expectation on somebody.
100%.
And if you put the right expectation on somebody, it can lead to a lot of fruit.
Oh yeah. One of the hardest things to put expectations on is yourself. In sales, it's not easy. It's not easy. You might, just for easy numbers, you make 100 cold calls. You might get 10 people who answer, 4 who tell you never call me again. You get 1 meeting. Like if you look at that from a perspective of, I only got 1 out of 100, you're probably not going to be very happy. If you look at it from the perspective, I got a meeting set that can ultimately, I can help them out and I can also grow my business, you're going to be a lot happier.
Yep. I was actually looking at a video from a guy named Fraser Brooks. He's big on social. And one of the things that he was saying was kind of breaking it down into numbers. And he says, okay, if the average sale for a customer is X amount of dollars, and you know that you need to hit, these numbers. Yeah. Like you said, you can get overwhelmed and be like, oh my gosh, I gotta reach out to how many people? Oh, no way. That's going to take me 8 hours to reach out to, 500 people or whatever, through social or whatever channel it is. But if you know that you're going to make X amount of dollars and you break it down just with math, you're going like, oh, okay, for every outbound reach, I'm that much closer to my goal and to actually helping somebody. It's all perspective, right?
That's the science of sales right there, man. Being able to break down the individual tasks that lead to success.
Yeah, because now you don't see it as just, I got to go through the motions, more as, okay, I'm that much closer. And if you also have a good mindset on it, you're going to make better phone calls, which you're probably going to increase your numbers and just overall have better success, right?
Oh, 100%. When I'm calling people, I normally walk around my room because you're much more casual.
Yeah.
It's when you're sitting there on this, like you're going to be rigid, I don't want to mess this up. When you're walking around, it's just like you're talking like you and me right now. We're just having a conversation.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So I got to ask you, you were in an environment where you're able to be at an office, just like everybody else before all this happened. How have you transitioned to this kind of COVID environment for your business?
Yeah, I think some of the positives were, even being in an office, it was still a virtual role. So I sold to my territory from virtual, and being a
Hmm.
part of Cisco, we have access to some of the best virtualization equipment for collaboration and things like that out there. Like we have WebEx Teams. It's very similar to, I'm sure you've heard of Slack, ways that
Yeah.
you can just communicate back and forth. It's also integrated with WebEx, so we can jump on calls. I actually have a WebEx monitor sitting behind here. So it's been great as far as the flow of doing business. It hasn't changed that much. I mean, the tough part has been not being able to interact with your peers all the time. I mean, being around people, keeping that positivity, feeding off each other's energy, that's much harder digitally. So I mean, I think even having just conversations over the phone with some of your buddies, whether they work with you or not, or just like-minded people, and being able to bounce this off, and then also the importance of having mentors. I mean,
Yeah.
having someone who you can go to and be like, I'm having a bad day. This is not exactly like, I'm not happy in where I am currently. I need some advice. How do I get this mindset myself back on track?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah,
I know I got a little off topic. Did that answer your question there?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's building community, and that's something that's kind of come into my mind over these past several months. Is how can I build community? How can I build community online? Because if I'm not able to meet with people, and then I, just like you, have the fortune of having friends all over. So can I always meet with them regardless? No, unless I fly to that city. But now it's like, how can I feel like we're all more in that mindset of how can we create and have, maybe not create, but how can we have community and stuff like that. It's so crucial, because at the end of the day, we are a herd community. We're used to being in tribes. We're used to being with people. So that's cool. I like that. I'm gonna have to start using some of that too. But one thing I really wanted to dive into personally is, number one, again, if most of y'all, if you don't know Garrett, then this is different. But I have seen a huge transition in you, man, from obviously whenever we're in the dorm rooms, because we're having some fun.
Yeah, good times.
But yeah, absolutely. But till now, it's like you stepped into a power in yourself. What was the pit? I like to call it the pit. What's the pit that you had to go through to know, hey, this is who I am. This is my worth.
Yeah, man. I think that it's a process in the grind. I mean, it's getting out and doing things and failing at them, being humbled. I mean, the more, like, in sales, you fail every day. I mean, in most things in life, you might fail at something every day. And I think a lot of, in today's society, people are scared to go out and fail. And especially, like, people are treated as they're younger. Like, oh, you didn't fail. Here's a trophy for last place. That sets a bad, it sets a bad mentality, because it's, at the end of the day, it's not all about, hey, you got to win, but you have to learn how to lose to be able to win, which I know there's some people out there who probably would disagree with that. It's like, we want to win at all costs. And, 100%, that's the goal. We want to be successful. We do want to win, but you're not always going to be a winner. I mean, even look at the Michael Jordan example. He didn't make, was it junior high or freshman basketball?
I think both.
Yeah, he didn't make them, and he's arguably the greatest player to ever play the game now. And the way you do that is you humble yourself. I mean, going through those processes. I mean, in college, I was my parents, I was very fortunate. I grew up in a place where I put in a lot of time for sports. Didn't have to work in high school. They helped me through college. So, there's just a sense of, okay, I privileged in a lot of that to be able to have that. And then getting out in the working force, no one gives a shit. So go, like,
true.
you gotta go grind and earn your way there. And I'd say, honestly, like, I'm still doing it. I mean, I have aspirations to get further along than I am now. And, it's that never satisfied. And, it's okay to be upset, pissed off, sad sometimes about some things when you are feeling down. But I mean, to not, this is quoted a lot, but Rocky Balboa, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep going.
Yep. There you go, man. And it's true. And something that I'm reminded of with you is you can look back at your story and find gratitude in it. It's like, if you don't ever look back, then yeah, you can be looking at your situation and thinking, I'm not where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you're pissed, you're upset, you're unhappy with where you are in life, compared to knowing, like, and that's the sense of power I feel from you, is you're like, dude, I know where I'm going, I know who I am, and I know what I've been through to get to where I am, and I'm not where I want to be, but damn, am I working on it.
100%. I think no matter what your circumstances you come from, like I said, I was privileged to do a lot of this, but no matter what, it's having those end goals in sight, having little goals along the way, and figuring out how to get to those or readjust and being honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Quit lying to yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, get real. Just get real. And that's where the community can come into place, having good people around you. I mean, a quote that has always stuck with me since I could remember is, who you are around is who you become. And
Yep.
if you're around some squares, you're going to become a square. But if you're around some people who are after big things in life, you're gonna be doing that. If you're around people who are fit, you're gonna probably become fit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I know you've taken to it, and I've taken it to as well. But I want to dive into, again, kind of more of these systems and processes. We're good. We good on time, right?
We got about 8 minutes.
Okay, sweet. So I want to dive into this real quick. Is moving forward in 2021, what do you think the landscape looks like for you? Hold on, I want to reframe that. With you knowing what you know about sales and marketing and automation, what is something that you think you can help somebody with
Mm-hmm.
to help their systems and processes?
Yeah, so with AppDynamics, we monitor application processes and understand that user journey, the business can relate how well the code is performing to actual business outcomes. So through that, I mean, COVID and the pandemic has made everything more digitalized. Regardless if you are a mom and pop shop or a Fortune 50 company, people expect the same thing as far as digital experience.
Mm-hmm.
If your app is on your phone, they expect Google, Uber, Facebook of interactions.
True.
And
yeah.
So being able, yeah, exactly. Expectations, and people now, we strive for that instant gratification. We want things to work perfectly. There's a stat, I think it's like 49% of like users, if the digital experience is poor, they'll go find another supplier. Yeah. And out of 51% of those same people surveyed, they will actually pay more for a more positive experience. So I think it's working with people to help make their users enjoy interacting with them more. That's through the technical aspects, and I work with engineers on my end who they're way smarter than I am, and they're able to work through those technical things. But being able to help drive that business conversation of like, this is what we're trying to do for your consumers, whether that is a online retailer, a brick and mortar store that they do some logistics out of there, but they're all using these automated processes that we want to help them out with.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, if people want to learn more about what you're doing, what's the best way they can reach out to you?
Hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm always active on LinkedIn. It's a huge tool I use for prospecting as well to learn more about people. That would be the best way to reach me, honestly.
Sweet. Well, I'll put that in the link in the description. And
yeah, drop it below.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess to wrap this up, what would you say if you can leave people with one little nugget that you've learned along your journey, besides giving is dope, because we know if we all know give, it's dope. I mean, it's dope. What would you give people?
I mean, dude, fail fast, stay hungry, be humble, and just keep going.
There we go. It's simple.
Yeah.
A lot of times we know what we need to do. We really do. It's just we don't do it. And that's
100%.
It's within our own minds. Yeah, of course, we all are. And it's working through those things. But hey, if you're willing to fail, that's a good start. So
100%.
Anything, any last words?
get mentors too, because I think you mentioned this earlier, because sometimes you need a reality check from someone who's not yourself. When you get so inundated in the weeds, it's hard to come to the surface and get that reality check. So have some people that you trust who can call you out on this out of the goal to make you better. And I think like networks, man, they're huge.
Absolutely. Well, sweet, man. I appreciate you being on with me, and looking forward to all your success, brother.
Dude, 100%. Same to you, Trey. This was fantastic to catch up, man. I can't wait until we can go visit people, and I can have you up here in Dallas, man.
Absolutely. I'm with you.
Perfect.
All right, man. Talk soon.
I'll see you later. Bye.
2021, we're back. I hope y'all enjoyed that episode. It's been really good to catch up with some old friends, but I think what's super great about this episode was I seen Garrett's complete transformation, and seeing where he was in college to where he is now. It's like he's completely stepped into his power. And one of the biggest things that I really wanted this to happen and show you guys a little bit of his insights is because you have to go through the pit to go to the light, to achieve the success you want. And he went through it. He's going through it every single day, as we all are. But just knowing that we have to fail forward, we have to fail fast. We need to find mentors. The 5 people we hang around is who we become. Jim Rohn said it best, and this was a great example of that. So I hope y'all enjoyed this. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Show me some love, and share this with your friends and family if this is something that brings value to you. And if you have a question for me or want to hear more info on a certain topic, let me know. Shoot me a message on Instagram or on Facebook or wherever is easiest for you. And I'd love to touch on that topic and to get maybe an expert in it as well. So again, I appreciate you showing some love. I appreciate you guys here on the journey with me, and I pray that you're having an amazing day, and I will be talking to you soon. With that, Trey out on the Trey Angle.